Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Saaghe Fogwe podcast. I am super excited about today's show. It's kind of a mixed feeling, bittersweet type show, but we have to have this show because it's very important. The topic today is the cancer journey. So I have someone here who's very special to me. He's a little brother. I know I always have little brothers on the show, right? um, but he has a story to share today. There are certain things that happen in our lives that we can choose to either put it in a closet and close the door, not share with anybody because it's private, and and people have a right to do that. But sometimes things happen in your life that you want to help other people out by sharing your story, enriching people. Um, just sharing that so that you can help save a life, you can help prevent the same thing from happening again in our community. And that's what this show is about. This show is about community. This show is about uplifting people, enriching people, empowering people, and it's all about positivity and making us grow. So without talking too much, because I tend to digress, I'm going to introduce our guest today. He's no other person than Mr. Nico Kang. Welcome, my brother.
Hi, 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 hi. How are you?
Good.
All
Good to
right.
have you. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
We've
It's a
talked
pleasure
about
to be
it.
here.
Yeah. We talked about it. We planned it. Life got in the way. We couldn't make it happen, but
Hmm.
finally we're here, having this
That's right.
conversation. Yeah. So how are you today?
I'm doing well by the grace of God. I'm doing very well. Very thankful. I'm glad that you invited me, and I mean, like you said, we've tried a few times, and finally we are here to make this happen. And I'm really happy to be on your platform because I know that you're all about impacting people, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I couldn't say no for too long. And now that I'm feeling really good, I'm able to come on
Yeah.
and talk.
Yeah. Very important. So let's do this. Before you even start introducing yourself, let's share the link. So I'm going to go ahead
Yes.
and send it your way. And then I'll
That's right.
also, yeah.
I think I caught it on YouTube, and I've actually,
Okay. You've shared
yeah,
already. Okay. Look, you see, I'm messing
I've
with the
shared.
wrong person here. This man he's high tech. I'm the one catching up. I'm trying to catch up here,
No, no, no.
playing
I mean,
catch up.
there. I do follow you, and so
Yeah.
I have the alerts turned on and everything. So when it comes on, I jump on it. So
Awesome. Okay. So let me do that. A couple of shares here and then we'll go. And this is for people who haven't subscribed, because if you're subscribed, just like my brother here, once I go live, you already know.
there you go.
So yeah, so once I go live, I don't even have to share with you anymore, because you are fully aware that we're going live. But if you're not yet subscribed, go ahead and hit that button, hit the notification button, and I think we're good. Okay. Okay, Nico. So today's one of those, like I started off saying, it's bittersweet. Bitter because it's a story. It's really one of those that, it's heart wrenching, but at the same time, it's a success story because you're here to tell that story. So before we go into your story, just introduce to people who don't know you. A lot of people on my platform do, but there are others who, I have a very diverse audience. So there are
Mm.
people who do not know you. So go ahead and introduce yourself. Where you come from, education, family. Just things that people should know about you as a person.
Okay. Um, so Nico Kang. By day, I work in technology. I do machine learning, and I'm a cloud engineer for a company that does machine learning and predictive analytics for feedback management. I What else? By day, that's what I do. By night, I am many things. I'm a dad, a husband, an uncle, a friend, son, um, and I am involved in media. I don't like referring to myself as a media personality per se, but a citizen of culture is kind of what I use to encompass everything I'm involved in. I like business. I run around and get my hands involved in everything and anything. And if it concerns Africa, I'm really excited to jump on
Yeah.
it. Um,
An
I
actor.
actor, yeah. I've been in some movies, produced some, and acted in some.
Mhm.
Um, so I mean, I wear a lot of hats, but jack of all trades, master of one, really. Just being me and trying to live out this thing we call life and spend our time on earth, and leave my own mark before I go, so that I can be remembered by one or two things. That's it.
Man, and I mean, your tech terms, some of us who are non-tech, there were a lot of
Oh,
terms in there that I couldn't even, I was like, what? Is it AI stuff or, break it
yeah, I
down a
mean,
little bit more.
machine learning and predictive analytics is basically okay. So let's go back. If you are on your computer and trying to type, many times you go on Google, you're trying to type a search engine, and in a search engine, and many of you already have seen it happen where you talk about something and you go on the computer and you're trying to type and you already see suggestions of whatever you talked about, right? That's kind of what we do. Build out NLP, or natural language processing engines, that kind of try to build on models that would use something like what you do on social media, Twitter, IG, Facebook, whatever you do on social media, Yelp, review sites, Google Places. There's quite a few of them, a lot of them. Brandwatch, all those sites. Anything you do on the internet is being watched. Of course, somebody collects that data, and they sell it to many companies, like for marketing purposes, amongst other things. But basically, what we do is use that data, clean it up, put it through some NLP models, and spit out some sentiments for any analysts who are looking to find out what people are talking about them, what people are saying about them online, and kind of try to guide their business or whatever they use it for. Yeah. So I'm just part
Wow.
of that technology side.
I was wondering why Facebook kept following me. Like every time I think about something, it pops up, but we'll
Yes.
have another show on AI. Actually,
Yeah.
the guest I was supposed to have last week was gonna do like AI 101. That was gonna
Mhm.
be the show. So we might need to pick your brain
Yeah,
again
that's
when
that's a step that's a step beyond just predictive analytics, and that's
yeah.
actually allowing the computer to act like you and think like you. So
Yeah, and it was more to introduce it to our community because she
community,
knows
yeah.
she's kind of like, I think she does quite something similar to what you do, but we wanted to kind of introduce it. But we'll pick your brain on that day when we do that show.
It should be a
But
fun show.
today,
I'll be on. I'll be
yes,
watching.
yes. So today is not about that, but I just wanted people to understand a little bit better what you do, so they can relate to to this person who's sharing his story. And shout out to my sister-in-law. I know I have not spoken with her. I need to, Marion.
Yeah.
Woo, when we hear the story, yeah, we'll see why it's very important. When you pick a partner, you
Hmm.
pick a partner.
Right.
You don't just pick
So,
because of the fluff, because of the the outer beauty. You
that's
pick
right.
because of inner beauty as well. But as we hear the story, we'll understand what I mean by that. But
Yes.
take us back, Nico. Let's go right into your story. um how did you even find out that there was something going on with you? Just take us back.
So, um, sometime in the summer of 2022, I I got up feeling really weird. I had a pain in my stomach, and I wasn't sure where it was coming from. I actually attributed it to something I might have eaten the night before, and you know when you feel pain in your stomach, it's you just try to run it off. And but this was a little different. This was a different type of pain. It felt like something in between my stomach muscle and my skin, and it just felt completely different. And so um in spite of all what I did to try to forget or just assuage or, calm the pain, it just was there, lingered. I didn't, feel like it was such a big deal. I actually went out and played soccer that day, came
Mhm.
back, and then when I used the restroom, I found out there was some blood in my stool. So, hey, what am I going to do next? I jumped on Google. I started Googling
Mhm.
away. Um, and man, a lot of people told me later on that I shouldn't have done that. But I think that's kind of what pushed me to do what I did next, which was call my doctor. Because I had just gotten my physical. I usually get my physical around July, and this was August.
Mhm.
And so I called my doctor and I was like, something is wrong and this is what happened. And doctor was like, well, okay, it might just be an ulcer or something. I mean, do you have a history of cancer in your family? And I said, no. And the doctor was like, okay, then it's probably just, something that will pass. Let's just see what happens in the next few days. Nothing changed.
Mhm.
So I called again. I actually sent an email this time and I said I needed to come in and she needs to figure out what's going on.
Mhm.
um, One of the things that pushed me was I had read something on that I found on Reddit that said, when you start noticing blood in your stool and you're a certain age, you have to be very careful, especially if you're African American or African or Black. So
Mhm.
I just jumped on it, and um, the other thing that scared me more was the fact that my dad, God bless him, may he rest in peace. I lost my dad when he was 42. My dad died at 42.
Mhm.
This was me turning 40, and I was going through this, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, something is wrong here. Something is definitely wrong, and I hope it's not that the same. Because back in Cameroon, you really don't know. You just hear your parents die.
Mhm.
You're still a young boy.
Mhm.
You don't know really why, and you ask questions, and people don't really give you answers because they think you're still too young to know. But I just all sorts of things came to mind. I was thinking all sorts of things, but then I went in and saw my doctor. Um, Sat down with her for a good hour. We talked, um, and I told her, "Look, this is my history. This is what you already know this. So I am not very comfortable just leaving this to chance. So if there's any test that we need to do to clear it up, let's do that." And I hate hospitals, but I was like, I'm ready. Let's do.
I commend you for being that one guy who actually wanted to go to the doctor and who wanted
Yeah,
answers. Because
yeah,
I have one of those
yeah.
at home. I literally have to drag him across the floor to go to the doctor.
Look,
Across the floor.
um,
I'm a nurse
nobody
practitioner
wants to
and
go to the doctor.
I have to convince my
Nobody wants to
husband
go to the
about.
doctor. Trust me.
Yeah, so
So
I want to commend you initially, for even wanting to go, Go
thank you,
ahead.
thank you. I
Mhm.
mean, I just felt, look, something was wrong. I knew it. Like, your body, and I just felt something
Yeah.
was off. I knew something was off, and so long story short, went back and forth. Tried to convince insurance to approve a colonoscopy.
Because
Um,
you were not of age. You had to
because
be
I'm not yet of
45.
the recommended age. Yeah. Um,
Mhm.
so the thing, it came through. Then the challenge, the next challenge was actually getting the appointment. Um, if my appointment, so I went to go get the appointment in September of 2022. They told me the first opening would be March 2023. And I told the lady at the front desk, I remember that very clear. I said, look, you guys are just trying to kill me here because there's blood in my stool and you're telling me to go wait another 6 months before I come
Mm-mm.
back and figure out, and you guys try to figure out what's wrong. And the lady said, well, there are too many people ahead of you. We cannot skip the line. That's just how it is. So I went back to the drawing board, called up insurance, and I was like, at that point, I was like, because that paper I read that I found on Reddit scared the bejeebies out of me. So I was like,
Mhm.
okay, I need to know. I don't want any to leave it any more day. I need to know now so that I can, if I have to make sure that I leave things in order or will or
Yeah.
things like that, I make sure that I
Mhm.
leave that, with I don't run out of time. Um, so I went back and forth with them, and then luckily for me, someone canceled while I
Wow.
was still going back and forth. So in October, they called me. because I was like, I had been peppering them back and forth. And
Mhm.
then they called me in October and said, we have an opening in a week's time. Someone just canceled. I was like, oh, good. Um, I can come in. And they sent me the paperwork and everything. And I signed it, did the prep, went in for a colonoscopy. Um, hmm, October 31st. That morning was a very tough morning because you don't eat 24 hours. I
Yeah.
think it's 24 hours
Mhm.
before
You
and all
start
that.
like 5 p.m. the day before,
Yes,
you start the
that's
liquid
right.
and all that,
Start
and you cleanse
fasting
and
and
all
do the
that.
liquid thing.
Mhm.
That was the first time I was doing something like that. It was horrible, horrible, horrible. All night I
Mm.
was struggling, but I went in. Um, you know, a lot of tense moments on the drive there, but got there and they put me to sleep. When I woke up, Marion was there.
Mm.
Her eyes were red because the doctor had probably
Mhm.
already told her. And the doctor just shook his head and said, we found something. We've sent it up for biopsies and pathology tests and all that checks and all that. But to be honest with you, 9 out of 10 times it's going to be cancer. And
Wow.
I looked at the doctor and I was just like, wow, I don't know. I don't even remember what came next. I don't remember anything else. I just remember at some point, we walked out of there. Um, you know, very quiet ride home. Very
Mhm.
quiet ride home. Nothing to say to anybody. Nothing. You know. Um, and then all sorts of things go through your mind.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're young. I mean, we're talking
Yeah,
about a
yeah,
vibrant, vibrant young couple, just, still in the prime of your life, and something like this happens. And what keeps going through my mind is, what if you hadn't been persistent? You hadn't been as, even to get the colonoscopy, to get to that point where you were, because there are people, think about how many people are out there who they get that appointment that's pushed out, and they just give up, and
yeah.
they give up. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
mine was a little peculiar because insurance was involved too.
Mhm.
So I just thought I had fought so hard to get insurance to agree to this test. There's no reason why I should let it go 6 months without getting it.
Mhm.
And that's one of the other nuances about healthcare in this country, which is really sad. And this was happening all in a time in my personal life where things were really tough. You
Mhm.
know, um, I know she probably doesn't want me to share this, but whatever. But my
No,
marriage
go
wasn't
ahead.
my marriage wasn't in the right place. You know, about the kids. I had just gotten
Yes, yes, our cousin
my
who
nephew,
passed away,
yeah,
3
my
kids.
cousin passed
Mhm.
away, so I just taken in the kids like a year prior. So a lot
Yeah.
was going on in our lives. A lot was changing. And
Yeah.
everything was so fast. Moved from had we had moved from Virginia to North Carolina in
Mhm.
during the pandemic, in the middle of the pandemic. So a lot of
A
things
lot.
were all over
Yeah.
basically, and this started. So it really just pushed me to, and I think one of the things that really got me around that time was having to tell my daughter that I have cancer, and
Mhm.
of course tell the kids, because you're sitting there and you're like, these kids just watched their dad die.
Yeah,
um
and then
like,
now their uncle.
they've known me for they've been living with me for a year and a half, 2 years, and then oh, so a year and a half, and then now this.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even get the words out. Marion is the one who told them when we sat down and had the conversation, right?
How
And
old was Mbong then?
14.
14. Yeah. Yeah.
14, yeah.
Mhm.
It was tough. It's one of those conversations you never want to have.
Yeah.
But got over that, and I think the way they reacted to it pushed me to beat this.
Mm.
Um, I was scared out of my mind. To be honest, I was scared out of my mind. I've never been so scared in my life before. Um, First phone call I made was to a friend doctor of mine who lives in Germany, Famambo Jude.
Mm.
He's my mate in school, Sacred Heart. So I told him what the doctor had said. I told him, I sent him everything. Like I said, look, I know
Yeah.
you're a doctor. You might not be a GI guy, but you know stuff. So talk to
Mhm.
me. Um,
Yeah.
what should I do? And he's like, what do you mean? I mean, they said this is the case. So the first thing they have to do is take it out. And then the second thing, they'll figure out what other treatment plans are available after that. And I think his words after that really, really encouraged me because he said, this is not something I don't see often. But many times, if you're determined, you're going to beat it.
Mhm.
We now have to just pray that it's not in an advanced stage and it's manageable for us to be able to actually fight it. So you have to make up your mind if you're ready to fight this.
Mhm.
Um, you have to, why you have to, you have to come up
Yeah.
with your own reasons why you have to fight it. So that
Mhm.
was the main thing. And then I called Dr. Mukong Adeso, who is actually a GI doctor in Richmond. Um, somebody has been around for some time in the DC metro area, and a fellow Shesan too. So he also provided another perspective and encouraged me and egged me on. And then, at that point, I think when I spoke to them, I was a little more confident because
Mhm.
there's this little surprise, this little suspicion you have of white doctors. I hate to say that, but it's a little trick. Um,
Ah,
no, be
Nico.
honest. We have to be honest now. We have to be honest, grandson.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Um, you want to talk to a doctor who is also like you,
Who
right?
looks
Who
like
can
you?
explain these things to you exactly, and even
Mhm.
say it in pidgin. Because one of the things he said is, say, Masa, no matter how tough this thing look, you can still, wait, the thing that it
Yeah.
happened. We just get for work hard for fix them, So
Yeah.
make up your mind to get it fixed, and that's
Mhm.
what kind of spurred me on and gave me that extra encouragement that I needed.
Mhm.
And that's
'Cause
kind of
most of
how I
the
felt.
time, yeah, because most of the time when you have a critical illness, critical or terminal illness, 90% of the time people pass away not because of the disease. It's because of how you're handling it, your
Yes.
spiritual being, your spiritual ability to handle it. Financial, obviously, also, some people just thinking about the finances will affect their spirit and make them go down faster. So I'm glad that they said that to you to find
Yes.
something to, to fight with, because a lot of times it's, and the people around us do not help too. If people come, you have the friends who come and say, "Where Nico? Where?"
Funny story about that. That's the
Yeah.
reason I didn't tell a lot of people about it. Everybody
Yeah.
I spoke to, so I talked to the two doctors, and I
Mhm.
told them, "Hey, you guys are doctors, so you know what private, doctor patient confidentiality is. I know I didn't
Yeah.
pay you any consulting fees, but
Mhm.
you know what this means.
Yeah.
So and they understood that because they're doctors, and I
Mhm.
knew I could trust them that they will not sit there and
Yes.
start telling somebody and that I
About
didn't want
it.
to know.
Yeah. Mhm.
The other thing was, okay, now that we know within the circle of my
Mhm.
friends, the people that needed to know, um, let me go ahead and take care of this. And I think the first time I told people about it was when Father Morris was coming down to God bless God bless him. Father Morris is
Yeah.
an amazing man. I can
He is.
talk about my pair forever.
Yeah, he is. He is. He's
When
very interesting.
I didn't even tell father. I didn't tell him
Wow.
because I told my
Wow.
mom had to
Mhm.
get her a visa to come here. And then when she got her visa, she called father and said, "Hey, I'm on my way to the US. Your son is sick."
Mm.
Because father is like, I mean, I've known Father Morris since I was like 8, and
Mhm.
he's been around our family forever. And he picked up and drove from Virginia to Indian Trail, North Carolina, and like, and he would come down here once every week. It was
Mm.
crazy. It was crazy. And then when he came down here the first time, he wanted to do mass. So he said, call a couple of your friends whom you trust, whom you want to be around here. Let's do a mass and pray and do prayers for you. And I think that was right after my surgery because I didn't want to listen to people just wailing and getting
Yes, yes.
sad
I'm
and
bringing you
stuff.
down. Mhm.
Yeah, I didn't want to do with that. So I scheduled the surgery to remove the tumor. When I was over, that's when I started telling folks.
Yeah, because we found out late. Me too. Yeah, we were,
Yeah, and
when I found
I
out it
told
was
you, I
late.
told grandson, I told even dad, I told pastor, everybody. I told you guys really late in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think after the second cycle of chemo had started, that's when I told a few more folks, and I
Yeah.
just opened up now. And I think Cancer Awareness Month was coming.
That's why I'm wearing my
WSS,
blue, my colon
yeah,
cancer blue.
yep. WSSOC, the Channel 4 in Charlotte, they wanted to do cancer awareness for African Americans and Africans and Black people. And so Novant asked me to be in that campaign. And they had a couple of reporters come to the house and talk to me and take video and put some campaign to kind
Mhm.
of push the map, get people, check your colon, check with a
Yeah.
check mark and then colon,
Yes. Hmm.
check your colon campaign. And so I felt that, okay, maybe it's time to tell more people because
Yeah.
you don't want them to see it on TV and be screaming, right? So,
Yes, exactly. Then somebody might have a heart attack now
yes,
based
yeah,
on seeing you on TV doing a campaign.
yeah, and talking about my experience. So I just felt, okay,
Mhm.
let me. So I did an audio PSA and sent it out to a couple of friends, and then they shared it, and I just said, just share it. You don't know who it will touch,
Yeah.
and it has
Yeah.
paid off. It has paid off. Community action like that has paid off because
Mhm.
a few folks have actually called me saying they got tested, they got checked, and
Well, you still have
currently,
people in your family who have
yeah,
not, and I'm putting them on blast right now. The same grandson that you called has
because
not
she's
gotten
afraid.
hers.
She told me she was afraid,
Yes, you
but
need
she'll
to
get there. She'll
continue this
get there.
campaign. I'm putting her on blast. I have one of those at home. I'm about to schedule his. And, so we need to keep the campaign
Yeah,
going because we cannot
yeah.
have this, happening
Oh
again.
yeah.
But yours,
Oh yeah.
yours was even, you even have a pass. You were not of age.
Mhm.
So you
That's
were
right.
symptomatic. So yours is
So
an outliner.
and the one thing I want to share is like I tell everybody I meet, like, don't wait until that age, right? Anybody who is 35 and above, just
Mm-hmm.
go to your doctor and tell them, look, I have a history of this. They cannot verify. Just tell them that your uncle, came down with this and you're scared. Let them put in a word for the insurance company to approve it. And even if you're 35, because
Mm-hmm.
one thing that saved me is the fact that we knew early, right?
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
there's somebody I'm talking to right now who found out he's on stage 4,
Oh,
and
wow.
that's he went to go see his doctor because of me, right? Because of my audio, and when he found out, he called me, and we talked. I was at the hospital when he got his
Mm-hmm.
surgery. I talk to him often, and he's not the only one. There's a couple of people that
Yes.
have called me,
Yes.
and the biggest fear is colon cancer usually manifests late. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's when the symptoms really show up. I think I got lucky because my
You
symptoms
were.
showed up early.
Mm-hmm.
But if you start feeling a certain way, it's always good to go check, and don't even allow yourself to get to that point. You're
Mm-hmm.
35 and above, we're African. We eat a lot
Yes.
of meat. We eat a lot of food that, the environment you're in, all those things matter. So go ahead and just get checked.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't hurt to know, because especially knowing early, you get a chance
Mm-hmm.
to fight it. We're in a country where doctors are very determined. Like, my doctors will
Yes.
not let insurance stiff me. They would not, Dr. Kuykendall, Dr. Douglas Rosen. They're amazing folks. They
Yeah.
they went to bat for me, right? And
Mm-hmm.
um, and it's been a journey for me that's been very eye opening, for one.
Yeah.
And it makes you re-examine every bit of your life,
Yeah.
about being intentional with things
Mm-hmm.
that you took for granted in the past,
Mm-hmm.
um, relationships you took for granted
Yes.
in the
Even how,
past.
yeah, I was gonna say,
Uh,
even how you relate to people, right? The things that used to
yes,
piss you off like before, right now you're like, are you
yes,
serious right now? Why was I mad about that? Yeah.
yep.
Mm.
No energy to argue and focus on things that are not necessary anymore. It's
Yeah.
all about what are you doing to move forward, right?
Yeah.
What can you do to move forward? What can you do to get past that point, or what can you do to fix things and move on? And
Yeah.
live every day like it's the last, really, because you
Yep.
never know.
Yep.
I consider myself very lucky. I did chemo with folks that are no longer here because
Mm.
they couldn't win their battles.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it humbles you. It reminds you
Yeah.
that life, everything can be taken from you in a flash. When the time comes, it's the time you're gone. And it becomes a story of a past tense type thing. Oh, he
Yeah.
used to be like this, he used to be like this, versus he's doing this, he's doing that. And it's very, very, very it resets you.
Yeah.
It's humbling beyond the word humbling. Even
Yeah.
it's really humbling.
And
Yeah.
support, talk about support system. So it's very I mean that helped
Oh
quite a
yes.
bit to having the right support system, because if you have the kind of environment
Yes.
where you go to chemo, you go to radiation, and you come back and someone's yelling at you, you, I mean, just for lack of any particular example, but the environment is toxic. Speak to people
I
about
didn't
that.
catch your question.
So my I said speak to people about support system. If you're in, if you're going through treatment like you were, and you get back, you have an environment that's very toxic. You
Are
have
you?
negativity around
Oh,
you.
I think I
Obviously,
lost you.
that. Uh-oh, I can hear you. Yeah, I think we're having a little bit of technical difficulty. He can't hear me. Yeah, he's frozen. Hmm. Yeah. So yeah, while we're trying to get Nico back, so I was just asking him about support system, but obviously his treatments, were it was easy to go through his treatments, and keep that positive energy because of his environment. His wife, especially, Marion, she was a big part of this, and I'm sure if we get him back here, he'll be able to tell us a little bit more about that support that he had. It makes a big difference for us. So sometimes when we're building relationships, like I said in the beginning, when you're picking a partner, that's very important, because you have to think beyond just the fluffy things, the happy days, the days when everything is good. Think about when we were doing those vows, we're like, for better or for worse. But some people, when they're saying worse, they say it through the side of their mouth, because they're like, worse, I don't know about that. I'm not going to be there for worse. I'm going to be there for better, when things are good, when you have money, when you look good, when you're healthy. But then you never know, sickness can come. Like Nico, who's talking to us here, Nico is young. He's way younger than me. So think about, who goes into a marriage thinking that, oh, this handsome man is going to get sick someday, to the point where I have to take care of him, or I have to look after him. So relationships are very important, because thinking about his situation, he needed the support. He needed that environment that will make him thrive. And of course, he contained the information with a group of people. He didn't keep it to himself, but he picked people around him who could keep that information, who could support him, who could make it could stay positive and stay level headed, because you don't, like we said, we don't want people who come in there and they're feeling all sorry and bringing your spirit down, because you need that positivity around you to thrive. Because going in for chemotherapy, you're already drained, you already have a lot of energy taken out of you. So when you come back, you need to rest, you need your mind to be in the right place. So I'm hoping we get him back. I'm sure we're having, he's gonna be trying to get back in here. But while we're getting him back, we'll just keep talking. We'll just keep having a conversation here. I don't think there are any questions. No, no questions right now. But we do appreciate Nico for sharing this, because like I said in the beginning, some people will choose to just keep this to themselves and say, hey, I went through it. If you get sick, you deal with it, you figure out yourself. But he finally got to the point where he's willing to share the story with us, to share what he went through. It wasn't an easy journey, but he's here to tell that story. Hopefully if we get him back, he can tell us, the end of it. But just being here is important. But the question that I have for you folks out there is, are we prepared for a situation like this? How prepared are we? Because it could happen to anybody. It could happen to you, it could happen to me, it could happen to your neighbor, it could happen to your brother, sister, whoever in our community, right? But how prepared are we financially, emotionally, putting things in place, making sure that we have our wishes known. Let's say things go south and you don't you're too weak to even think medically, like a medical power of attorney. We have to make sure that we have things like that in place, and tell people about it, put it in writing, have it signed, have a lawyer look at it, and things like that, because we minimize the importance of things like this in our community. But it's very important to have it. There are people who right off the bat they already know they have to do things like this, but we have to keep re-educating ourselves, and also educate our kids about this, because kids should be at the point where they know about you, they know your wishes, where it's not even doubtful. If something happens, if you get sick and you're not able to make those wishes by yourself, you should be able to make those, make those wishes. I think we have Nico back. Yeah, we have Nico back, but you should be able to make your wishes known so that your family knows what to expect. So we have you back, Nico. At technical
Yeah,
difficulties, we don't panic, we pivot, right?
that's right. I was like, wait, what did I do? What's going
No,
on here?
we don't panic, we pivot.
Pivot, that's right.
So
Good.
yeah, so what I was asking was about support system,
Yes,
that
that's where I lost you.
going through what you went through. Imagine that you had this toxic environment, negativity around you, just an environment that was not even healthy for you to thrive
Yes.
in. Do you think you would have, we would be talking here
It
today?
goes it goes without say that's part of your healing, right? And that's kind of why in the beginning I had to make sure that there's not a lot of noise around me that's distracting. um the When I made the decision to be focused on my healing, uh on my healing process, was when I got the first shipment of my medication, the cancer medication I was supposed to start taking, right before starting chemo. um that it broke me. I spent a good, I think, 2 or 3 hours in my room, in my closet, just sitting on the floor, just looking at myself in the mirror, just staring at those bottles when they came, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, wow, I'm gonna be taking. I don't like hospitals, like I said. One thing I
Mm-hmm.
hate more than hospitals is also pills. I can't take
Mm.
you. Yeah, I don't know how to swallow pills. I don't like it. I can't stand it. And so it was that experience, like, and then having to take what, up to 10 of them or 12 of them
Yeah.
in one go. It's like, whoa. So mentally preparing myself for that, and then having the constant support, family, friends, people who really care, checking on you, or being there. And a friend of mine drove what, 40 to 50 minutes every day to come see me. I was in the hospital. He would come see me at the house, stay till 11 o'clock, Debo, and then he would drive
Mm.
back. So those are the things that you want, the community around you.
Yes.
um there are people who used, when I went to my chemo sessions, Marion always wanted to be sure, the one to take me there. Folks had offered, and she would, we said, no, don't worry, it's covered. She took time off work, my number one nurse, really, making sure I'm comfortable, making sure I'm okay,
Mhm.
doing everything that the doctors say, and making sure that they're checking. And my daughter, Jay, Mbo, she
Mhm. My
was
big sister.
yeah, she was incredible. You know, right from the get go,
Yeah.
always checking, and those are constant reminders. When you see that this support system is there, you're like, I can't let them down, right? You have
Yeah.
to fight, you have to work hard, you follow the instructions, take the medication, don't make excuses, just do it. And then it gets you across the line. It's one thing if you go through the journey alone. I cannot imagine how tough it is. The people with whom I was in chemo who would come there by themselves, Uber would
Mm.
take them back home.
Wow.
I was sitting there like, wow. And I have like a whole village of people just asking or begging
Warning. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
to let them take me. And it was just, it's so different and humbling. But then it also reminds you how lucky you are, right? How blessed you are that you have
Yeah.
these many people supporting and looking out for you and wanting you to be okay and wanting you to be healthy.
Yeah.
So it's a blessing to have that.
Yeah, and
Just
it changes your perspective, like you said, being more intentional after that, because now your steps you're blessed, you're
yes,
covered.
absolutely.
There's no question about your blessings, right? But then you want to be a blessing to others. You want to be the gift that keeps giving to others now, because you're like, God kept me here for a reason. My job is not done yet. You have
Mhm.
so much more to do. You have this beautiful family that you have to take care of, and the problems that were going on, they go poof.
They
You're like, really?
almost mean nothing at that
Yes,
point.
you're
They
like,
almost mean
yes,
nothing. Plus,
because
chemo is tough. Chemo is tough. So
yeah,
like, you trust me, you're looking at a smiling me now. Like, it was not easy having
yeah,
to, I still have a port in my chest, and if they have to access it, it's a whole ceremony because
yeah,
I melt. Like I said, I don't like hospitals, needles, pills. I literally have to like stop myself from crying like a baby just so I
mm,
can go through it.
mm,
And then you sit, go sit there, and there's all sorts of things going inside you, and you can feel your body changing, right?
yeah,
You can see it too. Skin is peeling off, you're losing your hair, hands are dark, bottom
mm,
of your feet dark. You can barely, to go up the stairs, you have to
yeah,
it's a long journey. So
yeah,
it's tough. Chemo is tough. I was nauseated all the time. I couldn't eat
mm.
much.
And what you like chops on Nico?
I tell you. Right.
What you like chops on? The
I'm
bear,
telling you.
the bear,
Yeah, the
apple,
bacon are poor. Oh my God.
fufu and jama jama.
I'm telling you, it's not easy. It's tough. It's tough. And having that support system there kind of helps, right? I'll tell you what. The one reason I made sure I took my medication in the bedroom was because the first time I tried to take my medication, like I said, I'm scared of meds, but the
Mhm.
first time I tried to do it was in the dining room, and I threw up right after. And I saw
Mm.
the face of my daughter, and my daughter's
Oh,
face was like, oh, man, that broke me.
yeah.
And I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't be a chicken about this. I just have
Mhm.
to be a man and get through it.
Yeah.
And from that moment on, it became, I had to come up with a routine and a way of doing it. So I used, like, man, it's silly, but I use paper towel, like,
Mhm.
Kleenex, and I'll
Uh-huh.
line the pills up instead of putting them in the thing, and I'll
Yeah.
line them up and just close my eyes, and just like, so they can all just trickle down through
Go down.
all the way down, and I don't even touch my tongue. Don't even touch my tongue.
Yeah.
Just go.
Yeah.
And that's how I got through it. And I
Wow.
had to come up with ways to make it
Yeah.
work
Mhm.
because there was so much support.
Mm,
Folks were mailing things to me, grocery shopping.
mm,
Mac,
mm.
man, my friend Mac from Atlanta. Um, there's so many people. I can't
Yeah.
call everybody, but there's so many
Yeah.
people. It's
Yeah.
just
Just know
that,
that you're loved, all of
there
you,
you go.
yeah,
Yeah.
shout
And,
out to
and
all of you who
and
were there,
sometimes these
yeah.
things, it's almost like when they happen, you get a reminder that these people were really your supporters. They
Yeah.
were really there for you from the get-go. They always have intended good for you,
Mm,
even though you were too busy to always check in and say
yeah.
hi and
Mhm.
keep in contact and things like that. But
Yeah.
when these things happen, they kind of help rebuild those relationships in a way.
Yes. Yes.
'Cause I think I've gained a lot of uh, insight into who my real village is,
Yes.
right?
Your tribe. Mhm.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that has helped kind of shape how I think about things now and what I get involved in and how I move forward. Like I said, there's some
Yeah.
intentionality that comes with
Yes.
having survived something like this,
Mhm.
and of course some responsibility too, because you at some point you become more than just responsible for your own health.
Mhm.
Having gone through it, it should make you into a teacher to be able to
Mm.
inspire other folks
Others.
and prepare
Mhm.
them not to go through the same things you went through and
Yeah.
suffer by
Yeah.
like by what I'm trying to do now, trying to
Mhm.
encourage folks to go get checked. Uh,
Mhm.
because colon cancer is very common,
It
um,
is.
and it can be treated. There's a higher probability of it being treated when it's found early, stage
Mhm.
2, stage 3. Um, but when you get to stage 4, that's when it starts becoming really tough, and
Yeah.
the odds of beating it get they dwindle drastically. So it
Yeah,
goes from
and it's crazy because the first show I had this year was also on it was a tribute to one of my friends who actually passed away in November from
sorry.
colon cancer, and she was determined. She was like the hallmark of positivity and determination to make it, but she didn't. So think about, like, even though we're talking about the mind and everything, she had all of that. She, I mean,
Uh,
there are pictures of her giving the middle finger to cancer.
yep.
I mean, she was one of those, like, but she didn't make it, and you're here. So it's like, it's one of those things that, you don't want to take for granted again. And you want to, you just, there's no other way. Post cancer, tell me
Mhm.
about, like your routines. What has changed in routines and, how checkups and everything like that. Health
So
stuff.
I
You're
that's a
already doing your
yeah.
annual checkups, but
Yes,
has anything
I was
changed?
so pre-cancer once a year I was seeing my doctor. Um, During the cancer twice a week I was going for chemo. um, I went from going see my oncologist twice a week to seeing my oncology once a week to see my oncologist once a month. Um, just uh, um, Yesterday I did my screens for the 3-month checkup. Tomorrow I go in and do blood work and follow ups again, and then after that I wait 3 months, and they will check again. So that has been my routine medically. You know and it's hi, it's tough, but I still have the port in my chest. I
Mhm.
really am praying for when the doctor says I can take it
Get it
out.
out.
Um,
Mhm.
mhm. But mostly, I am in full remission because that was confirmed just last month, just before
Yeah.
Christmas. Sorry,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm in full
Yeah.
remission, and
Yes.
so just making sure that I stay ahead of the game. Even though they say I can drink, I can't touch any of these things.
None of that. So that's just, and I
Yeah,
see Grandma near there. That's my
well,
choice. So
I'm telling you, my brands,
when I
I
come
love
to
those things.
North Carolina, Grandma near is my choice with a
I'm
little
telling
bit of
you,
coke. With a little bit
oh
of coke.
man, I can't. I mean, it's not like I was a big drinker, anyways. Because
Yeah.
so the one thing that really shocked me was I don't drink heavy, I don't smoke. So I
Yeah.
was asking myself all these questions in the beginning, like, how did I
Yeah.
get cancer? Like, what the
Yeah.
heck?
Yeah.
But you do the DNA study and all the other tests that they did after. It kind of tells you it environmental factors. You
Mm.
know, they also play a part,
Yeah.
and it's hereditary. There's also that part, but then
Mhm.
the environment is
Yes.
mostly
Foods.
yeah. So I will encourage everybody, please go get tested, go get checked. Don't sit back and say you're healthy, you're fine. Hey, I ran what, a mile in 7 minutes and 12 seconds. And I texted my friend who is in the military, and I said, look at what I just did. And he was like, where were you running to? Who was running after you? And I was
Mhm.
like, and this was before the cancer, uh,
Yeah.
just the week before. And I was telling him, like, I don't know, man. I just felt light. You
Mm.
know, I usually do the same thing in like 9 minutes, sometimes 10 when I'm just taking it slow when I was jogging.
Mhm.
But that day it just felt different. And come to find out, it's because I was sick and I'd been losing weight and I didn't even realize
You
it.
didn't know. Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
so those things also matter. So pay attention to your body. If you notice anything change, make sure, man. Like,
Yeah.
if you're a certain age, you want to make sure you get checked. Don't leave
Listen.
anything to
Yeah.
chance. Don't
Listen
sit
to your
back.
body. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Very
And
important. Yeah.
yeah, through it all, I'm very grateful, and routines. I don't do late nights as much. I have not been able to MC, man. Like
I know because he's an MC. He
just
said he talked about
wondering.
many hats. He's
Yeah.
an MC. This
Uh,
man is a comedian. He's everything.
just focused on work. Um, Things I had to do after, make sure that my life insurance policy covers a bunch of things.
Yeah.
That's the biggest part, because these life insurance people will, insurance people, you have to know what you're doing or getting into,
Mhm.
whole life insurance and all the other
Mhm.
things. I know you've talked about that a lot.
Yeah. Were you able to get coverage after?
Yeah. No, no coverage after, but I had coverage
Mm.
before.
Before?
So
Yep.
I was lucky in that aspect. So if something were to happen, I'm still covered. I'm good.
Yeah.
Um, the 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 other thing is making sure that all your like financial liabilities are spelled out,
Yeah.
making sure that all those things, like, so that if something were to happen to you, your account doesn't get blocked off and kids
Mhm.
don't have money and things like that, right? Your family is not
Yeah.
left with anything. All those things matter, and those
Mhm.
are some of the things, when you go through something like this, it's like, oh, I got a second lease on life. Let me make
Mhm.
sure that if I was just taking certain things for granted, you know man, I
Yeah.
didn't even believe my stock account didn't have a beneficiary listed.
Oh
Like,
wow.
I just imagine how hard it would have been to get that money if
Mhm.
I had,
Mhm.
died.
Yeah.
And God forbid that could have happened. It was a real
Mhm.
possibility,
Yeah.
So, I count myself very, very lucky. It's just like a wake up call, a reminder
Yeah.
from God to say, hey, slow down. You've been going too fast. You're on a 75 miles per hour lane. You should be in a 65 miles per hour lane, something like
Mhm.
that. This is
Yeah.
how I consider it, and I'm really grateful for it and thankful. Yeah.
It's awesome. Oh my goodness. The transparency today, just you sharing the story, is going to save somebody's life, Nico.
I
We're
hope
not
so.
going to take it for granted. I really appreciate you being honest and just, we didn't prep for this show. I told him this is your story. Nobody can tell your story better than you, right?
Mhm.
And he bared his soul here. For those who have watched, please share this video. Definitely share. I'm going to reach out to him for some community efforts as well, because I'm planning like a medical panel show on preventive care. So things
Great.
like that, our community needs it. We really need it. We need a lot of this education and seeing real life people talk about it. Because when I come as a nurse practitioner and I'm talking about stuff, people are looking at me like you're just trying to sell your profession. No, I'm not. I really care about the community, really want some change. But if we got anything out of this show, it's about the relationships that we keep, the partners that we pick, protecting ourselves, making sure that we have everything in writing, everything in video. I mean, we have video now. You can leave your wishes in a video. You can talk about the things that outline those things and pick the right person to make decisions for you.
Yeah.
Because think about brother Billy, who just passed away, who picked
Yep.
grandson as his medical
That's
power of
his medical.
attorney.
Yep.
He's fine. His body just arrived Cameroon.
Cameroon.
Think about if you pick somebody who is emotional,
Yeah.
who cannot make
It
decisions for
becomes a
you.
really tough ask. Yeah.
Yes. So we have to think
Yeah.
about those things, and we have to have these conversations in our community. We should not be afraid of death.
Oh,
um
no.
and even if we should be able to protect ourselves to make sure that in the case that it happens, you're good, your family is good, you're leaving them in a good position. And I think that's really, really what this show was about today, to talk about somebody's real life story, but also educate our community. Any final thoughts for our audience?
Um, really, really, just thank you really for listening. Thank you for the opportunity, Sagi. Grancer, yeah, you're doing so much with this show. You don't know, somebody's going to watch this and someday come back to you and tell you how it has changed their lives.
Mhm.
I do follow the show, of course. Support your own, and there's a lot that I've learned from you already. So much that I've learned, and and I can't stop coming back.
Mhm.
But for today, one takeaway is, please, let's not just talk about these things and go back and sleep on our laurels or rest on our laurels without action, right?
Mhm.
action. We talk about it, but we have to transform speech into action. How do you do that? Call your doctor today. If you're above 35, please, if you're watching, or if you're seeing this video for the first time, or somebody's forwarded it to you, if you're above 35, call your doctor today. Tell them that you would like to get screened.
Mhm.
Please come up with whatever story you need to come up. Oh, there is a history of it in my family. There's a history of cancer in my family. There's a history of something in my family. Go get checked. I did chemo with someone who was 20 something years old, 22,
Wow.
4. So there's a lot happening out there to people, and we cannot take things for granted because you never know when it comes to your doorstep, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
announce itself, it just
Mhm.
happens. So please, 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 if you can go get checked, book your appointment, get checked. Very important. That's the one takeaway I can really say for this show today. But ultimately, thank you so much for listening.
Yes.
uh, I mean, I'm working on a project that's going to have this in some form. After all of this, we are also scared of dealing with therapy. But I tell
Mhm.
you, you have this is another thing. Mentally, you have to be okay.
Yes.
This thing beat me up. It beat me up so much that my perspective on a lot of things has changed. And sometimes it's hard to make sense of it. So you need a professional to guide and help you through it. So please, if you need it, go seek help. Very
Mhm.
important. These are the two things.
Mhm.
I said one thing, but one major thing and then a follow up. That's the second
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah.
please, 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 very important. Very
Yeah.
important. You have to take care of you.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, my brother. And
Thank you.
until next time, thank you guys for watching the Saaghe Fogwe podcast. We'll see you next time. Ciao.
Thank you.
Yeah.